Quote, "Men who dread ignominy never embark on a work without deliberation." Meaning of the quote. This quote implies that people who fear disgrace or dishonor do not take action impulsively. Instead, they think deeply, plan carefully, and ensure their actions are justified and wise. Their fear of failure is not rooted in insecurity, but in a desire to live with dignity and uphold their values. They treat their choices with reverence, knowing that every action shapes who they are. Spiritual perspective. In a spiritual light, this quote reflects the path of the mindful being, a person who walks through life with awareness, humility, and reverence for consequences. It suggests that those who seek to live in harmony with higher principles, truth, compassion, and inner purity, will not act from ego, impulse, or pride. They understand that each deed, no matter how small, carries energy. Every word spoken, every project initiated is an expression of the inner self. Therefore, to act without reflection is to risk violating the soul's alignment with truth. This perspective teaches that deliberation is a form of spiritual discipline. When one acts with foresight, clarity, and sincerity, they preserve their honor, not for others' approval, but for the sanctity of their own inner world. Ultimately, such a person chooses to live with intention, not reaction. They understand that to bring something into the world, an idea, a work of art, a decision, is to plant a seed, and only seeds planted with mindfulness will grow into something meaningful and lasting. Scientific perspective. From a scientific viewpoint, this quote touches on neuropsychology and behavioral science, particularly the domains of decision-making, risk assessment, and emotional regulation. 1. Prefrontal cortex activation. People who fear disgrace tend to rely heavily on their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for critical thinking, long-term planning, and impulse control. Before taking action, they simulate outcomes, assess social risks, and weigh the pros and cons, often more thoroughly than others. 2. Amygdala and emotional response. The amygdala, associated with processing emotions like fear and anxiety, plays a role in preventing rash decisions. When someone is sensitive to the idea of shame or failure, the amygdala triggers a cautionary signal, prompting the brain to pause and reflect. 3. Cognitive dissonance and self-image. Psychological studies show that people with strong internal moral compasses or self-identities rooted in honor experience cognitive dissonance when they act against their values. To avoid this discomfort, they practice greater deliberation. 4. Delayed gratification and self-control. Studies like the famous marshmallow experiment demonstrate that individuals who can delay gratification and think long-term often achieve better outcomes in life. The fear of ignominy is a kind of internal accountability mechanism that encourages self-control and strategic behavior. In essence, science confirms what this quote implies. Those who reflect before acting are more likely to succeed and maintain their social and psychological well-being. Let's bring this wisdom to life through a small story. The Potter's Promise. In a small village known for its ceramics, there lived a master potter named Arun. He was admired not only for his beautiful work, but for the patience and care with which he worked. One day, a wealthy merchant came to him with a rush order. "Make me 100 pots in 3 days, he said. "I'll pay you double." But Arun politely declined. "I cannot. Every pot I make is a reflection of my soul. If even one is flawed, it brings shame not only to me, but to the art itself." The merchant laughed. "It's just clay. Who will notice?" But Arun smiled and said, "Even if no one sees, I will know. And that knowledge alone is enough to dishonor me." He went back to his workshop, continuing his slow, deliberate process. Years later, one of Arun's pots was displayed in a museum. On the base of it was inscribed, "Worthy work is never rushed, for honor does not bloom in haste." How this applies to everyday life. This quote holds deep relevance for how we approach modern life. Here's how it manifests in real-world situations. 1. In decision-making. Whether it's a career move, a relationship choice, or financial investment, taking time to reflect before leaping helps us avoid regret. People who care about doing right, not just doing fast, will think things through. 2. In communication. In an age of instant messaging and social media, we often react quickly, sometimes harshly. But those who value respect and honor pause, consider their words, and avoid causing harm. Deliberate speech is a sign of wisdom. 3. In leadership and work. A thoughtful leader earns trust. Employees, managers, artists, and entrepreneurs who consider long-term effects before taking action tend to build sustainable success. Rushed decisions often lead to burnout, failure, or broken trust. 4. In personal integrity. When you hold your values close, honesty, compassion, excellence, you naturally become more deliberate. You start to live in alignment with your deeper self, not just reacting to the world's noise. 5. In creativity. True creative work, writing, painting, designing, requires deliberation. The fear of mediocrity or untruth pushes creators to pause, reflect, and refine. Ignominy in this context is not failure. It is creating without soul. To dread ignominy is not weakness, it is strength wrapped in humility. It's the quiet commitment to living with dignity. It's the understanding that rushed action is often ego, while deliberate action is soul. In a world addicted to speed, this quote is a timeless reminder. Pause, reflect, and let your actions be worthy of your name. Thank you for joining this exploration of wisdom. If this message resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe for more insights into timeless truths. Remember, every great journey begins with a single step, and every great idea begins with a strong foundation. See you in the next episode.